Hi, everybody. Welcome aboard to the weekly Hangout with Mad Mimi. I'm Becca, and I'm joined
I'm
by...
Mira.
There she is. And this is the lovely Michelle Ward.
Hi, I'm Michelle.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. This is fun.
I'm already having fun.
I know, it's been like 3 whole minutes together.
So for everybody who's watching, you can feel free. There's a little Q&A button on the left of your screen. If you have any questions for Michelle or for the Mimi team or anything in general, feel free to ask your question, and we'll address every one of them. And for now, I guess, Michelle, would you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do and how you use email and all of that good stuff?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. I'm Michelle Ward, but I'm known far and wide as the When I Grow Up coach, which I love because I help creative women get out of their soul-sucking jobs and discover work that feels like play. So I came to this, the short story is that I needed the When I Grow Up coach at the time, and it didn't exist, and so I kind of became one. My prior life was as a musical theater performer, and that was my passion for 20 years since I was 6 years old, and I went to NYU and I got my BFA in musical theater, and then in my mid-20s I didn't like the business aspect of show business, and I just kind of went back to this question of what do I want to be when I grow up, and I would say that to people at the time, and they would laugh, and I'd be like, no, I'm serious, I need to figure it out, because it just wasn't acceptable for me to go work in a job for the next 30 years of something that I wasn't excited about. And so I found life coaching, which was just back in 2007, so hippy-dippy, so hippy-dippy. I'm like, I can't be a life coach because people are going to think that, I'm going to read their crystals or whatever, and there's nothing wrong with that, and I'm so much more hippy-dippy now, but I just went oh, is that what I want to do? And then when I realized that could lead me to being a career coach for creative people and helping them with their career transitions, then it just made sense. So I've been a life coach. I've been the When I Grow Up coach since 2007, 2008. I've been doing it full-time since March of 2010. At the time I was building my business, I got my certification and built my business and got engaged and got married in 2 years and 7 months that I was at an executive assistant job for a financial consulting company. And so it's been pretty freaking amazeballs that, I've been able to do this work for as long as I have and have it be so sustaining. And I coach and I write and I speak and teach and do a whole bunch of things. And that's my long introduction.
It sounds like you have it sort of all figured out. That's really awesome.
Oh my gosh, I've tricked you so well. I've tricked you so well. I mean, yes and no. It's I have it figured out with, who I work with and what I work with them on, but I'm all about really tapping into our Renaissance souls. I feel like as creative people, get a lot of people that really resonate with being multi-passionate, and that's me, times a million, and I feel we're not ADD, and we're not unfocused, and we're not flaky. We're actually Renaissance souls, and if this was, the 1500s, we would be, there would be parades given for us, but it's not. So while, yes, I have it figured out that I know what I'm doing with my business, always, my next offering, my next thing, what am I doing next, what do I want to work on, what projects do I want to work on, is all, in flux a lot of the time.
Right. It's all a project. Your projects are a project.
It's totally true. It's totally true.
So I'm wondering what it is about life coaching that maybe it's the same thing that initially sort of turned you off, but I'm wondering what is it about that work that you find so fulfilling and that really fits with you?
Yeah. Oh, that's such a good question. And this is where I get on my soapbox to talk about how important I think it is to be a certified life coach as opposed to... This isn't so true anymore because life coaching is so much more widespread than it was in 2007. But back then, people would be like, "Oh, I'm really good at telling people what to do. I should be a life coach." And I'd be like, "No, that's the opposite of what life coaching is." I think what was really exciting to me about it was that it wasn't me telling other people what to do. It was me arming myself with the tools and the skills and the resources to help people find their own truth and get their own clarity and make their own forward movements. And it has nothing to do with what I think they should do or my own judgments or my own experience. So I think that was the main thing that was really fantastic. And then, you know, to be honest, like, I did not want to go to grad school, and like, I did not want to go to grad school. And I was thinking like, oh, I could be a therapist, I could be a social worker, I could be a career counselor or something different. But I didn't want to talk to people about the depressing things in their lives. And again, like, amen and hallelujah. I have a friend who's a social worker who works with abused children, and I'm like, I'm so glad that you're doing this work, but I don't know how you wake up in the morning and do this. It's just not me. So, you know, life coaching was a real kind of fit between I could get my certification but not be, you know, tens of thousands of dollars or more in debt and go to grad school for 5 years and whatever, and I don't have to work with people and their really depressing things of like what their mother did to them when they were 5. Like, and therapists are great, and I've been to therapists and they've been so helpful, but that wasn't what I wanted to work on.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, it sounds like you've kind of found your groove in terms of helping people empower themselves. And I loved what you said about Renaissance Soul. That's a great term that like I haven't heard before, but it seems really appropriate.
Oh my God. Okay, go. If
learning and keep doing new things, you know, and I think it's a good thing to sort of harness the power of, you know.
Yay! Sorry, I totally cut you off. I got excited. I got excited about Renaissance Souls, and that's a new term for you. You know, if it's something that you resonate with, there's a wonderful book by that name called The Renaissance Soul. The subtitle used to be Life Design for People with Too Many Passions to Pick Just One.
Oh, nice.
Perfect. Now I think the new edition of the book is like, the subtitle is How to Make Your Passions Your Life. And it's a game changer. It's really, I think more than anything, for people like us who aren't familiar with this term and haven't embraced it and see it more as a negative than a positive, I think just knowing that we're not alone in this and we're part of a group of people that has a name, like we could say, you know, this is a normal thing. But also just really being able to, you know, like you said, look at it as something positive and figure out your career or your business based on knowing that, like, you know what, I don't like to work on things for more than 3 months at a time. Or once I learn something new, I'm quick to move on to something else, or I want to learn kind of all these different things. I think that we could build that into our careers while still having a through line and a thread and not feeling like, you know, our head's going to explode at any point.
Yeah, totally.
What do you find most challenging about working with people who are Renaissance souls, with people who are like this and are struggling with that career question? Yeah,
you know, I think there's a real either-or mentality that we've just been kind of brainwashed, and instead I'm always telling my clients we need to look for the and. So it's not about I have to choose this or this. It's about like how could this be more all-encompassing? And that could either be, I could use myself as an example. I mean, I'm the When I Grow Up coach, and obviously I'm a coach and I coach my clients, but I also speak and I write for the Mad Mimi blog, and I've written a book, and I'm teaching a class on Creative Live next month, and I'm like doing all of these, you know, and I'm obviously my own, you know, bookkeeper and marketing person and copywriter, and, you know, and if I wanted to start a podcast tomorrow, I could, and I'm an interviewer, and so like I have.
Never boring.
Totally. At one point I counted like how many hats do I wear in my business, and I counted 15 hats. And I don't
think Imelda Marcus of hats.
Yeah, totally. And I don't wear them all at once necessarily, but you know, but I have that option. And then I know people. Laura Neff is a really great example of this. She's always the first person that pops into my head when I think of this. But this woman, Laura Neff, who, if you go on my website, whenIgrowupcoach.com/GUG, I run an interview series called Grown Up Gigs, and just do a word search for Laura, and you'll find the interview with her. But she's a life leadership coach who also co-founded a organic food delivery service in, I think, Charlotte, North Carolina. And so she like splits her time between these two businesses. And so it doesn't even need to be under just one umbrella. I have another former client who I'll be interviewing for my Creative Live class next month. Her name is Leslie DeSantis, and she's a model who like came to it late in life, like late 20s. She's like, I've been wanting to be a model for 15 years. I'm going to go try to do it. And now she's signed with an agent, and she's a masseuse in training. And for the last few years, she's been running a shop where she does guinea pig paintings. So she like does these unbelievable like guinea pig like George Washington as a guinea pig and like those sort of things. And that business is called When Guinea Pigs Fly, and like everyone needs to just go and look. I mean, even if you aren't a guinea pig person, it's just unbelievable. So like you could do all of those things, and that could be your career. It's just thinking about it differently.
Yeah, totally.
So anyone who's watching, I would encourage you to ask Michelle your questions about how you can add ands to your career definition. And I would like to talk about making up words, because Michelle, I feel like this is something that you have encouraged on your site that I've seen, and I am a fellow word maker-upper.
Yay!
And I just would really like to applaud that and say, you know what, go ahead, make up words. Everybody should just, you know what, hit the Q&A button and give us a made-up word.
Oh, I love that. I just made up a new one like a week or so ago. Friend leagues. They're colleagues who are my friends. They're my friend leagues.
Love it.
That's my newest
That's awesome.
That's my newest one. But yeah, uniquity, I think you're talking like specifically about uniquity. It's so funny. Uniquity is one of those words that you're like, is that a real word? And then you write it in a document, and the spell check is like, no, it's not a real word. And you're like, no, yes, it is. Yeah, no, it's
now it is.
Yeah, now it is. But I think that's just all like it's all about being authentically who you are, you know, and bringing that into your business. So for me, you know, playing my pink ukulele and having made up words and saying amazeballs all the time and like being ridiculously enthusiastic is just what you get when you work with me, and so I want people to know what they'd be getting into should they decide to, you know, work with me one-on-one or buy a book that I wrote or something. So I want everything to kind of be who I am. And despite the fact that my husband was in advertising, he still is, but he was a copywriter and a senior copywriter for, you know, 10 years, who has written every single piece of copy on my site ever? Me. Every single piece of copy. I tried to push some onto him, and he was a good editor for a while, but he would say to me, you know, you use 10 words when you could use 3. And I would say to him, yes, I do know that, but that's who I am, so I'm just going to keep it. He's like, no, you need to shorten this. I'm like, no, it is who I am. So thank you for noticing, because I totally ignored his advice all the time. And
that's fine. So
you know, it's what works. It's what works for me. And so, you know, and I have clients and people that I know that have like really short sales pages and really concise copy and like amen and hallelujah for them, and that's great, and that works for them, and they have successful businesses too. So I think it just goes back to tapping into, you know, just what makes you you and owning that.
Do you have any advice for people who may not know? Like, I mean, you obviously have a very good idea of who you are, and that's excellent, and that helps with that. Helps with your authenticity. It helps with your messaging. You know, you have your brand because it's you. But what can people do if they're not necessarily so sure? Maybe they're just getting started out. Maybe they're still stuck in something, you know, and they just need to start.
Yeah, it's another really good question. Okay, so part of me wants to mention my published book. I don't want to be like, you know, hoopling up my own stuff too much, but that's like totally why I wrote it. I'm pushing it because it's going to be helpful, right? So I co-wrote a book called The Declaration of You, How to Find It, Own It, and Shout It from the Rooftops with my dear friend Jessica Swift, who is an artist, and we wrote this book together, and she illustrated it, and it's this real, like, fun, playful way to help creative women, let's face it, anyone, but creative women, tap into and articulate their own declarations around like big scary areas of their life. So the book is divided into, oh my gosh, it's been a while, I think 8 different chapters, and each chapter is a different, uniquity is a chapter. So it takes you through so that you could articulate, this is what makes me unique. Celebration is a chapter, money is a chapter. Oh my gosh, it's been so long since I looked at the book. I'm like, what else is in there? There's a lot of good stuff in there. And so
you gotta read it. You gotta read it to find out.
You gotta even do more than read it. You gotta get it and work in it, because it's worksheets galore and creative projects, and like that's why we need it. But you know, if you don't need it in order to start obviously figuring this out. And I think what I usually end up seeing from the people that I work with who kind of just don't have any idea what it is they want to do, and I have to say it's few and far between that someone comes to me that has no idea. Usually there's a seed of an idea that they might not want to admit, or they feel like it's not going to work, or they feel like it's stupid, but it's kind of there. If there's not an idea, then you need to start right away with playing. You need to just like make it a priority to do whatever it is that just feels fun for you without any sort of attachment to it. And I think that as we grow older, it becomes harder and harder for us to do this. And we do things that are connected to our jobs, or we do things that are connected to our family, or we do the things that our parents want us to do, or that we should be doing for exercise, or because our friends, you know, are drinking every night, so we go drinking every night. Instead, it's like you have to put just play the top of the calendar and just really say like, okay, well, what can I do that's just for fun for me right now? And sometimes it's hard to even know what that is, but just tapping into, what did I used to do as a kid that I really liked? Like, go to the dollar store or Target and get a coloring book and crayons if you remembered that was your thing so long ago. Or start an art journal or something to, you know, if that was your thing. Or maybe you want to like buy a jump rope and start jump roping, or take a boxing class. Or for me, I picked up the ukulele a few summers ago, and I had no reason to pick up the ukulele other than there was just something telling me I wanted to learn how to play it. And I just walked into a store one day, and it was $30, and it was pink, and I went, I want that one, and taught myself how to play it and take lessons. Like you need to make that back into a priority. So I think tapping into play, making time for play, making it a priority, then leads you to what are the things that I want to be doing? Because in the simplest form, I think our dream careers are really just us waking up in the morning saying, oh, I really like 80% of the things that I have to do today. I'm really going to enjoy. The other 20% are going food shopping and, you know, like doing the things that, you know.
14th and 15th hat.
Right. So, you know, that's really it in its simplest form. So if you don't know what it is you'd be excited to wake up and do, then, like, that's where you need to start.
I love that advice, too, because I feel like a lot of times people ask these kinds of questions and they get an answer that's more just, well, just be yourself, you know, but it takes a lot more than, you've got to know yourself really well to then decide to go do that, you know. So I like the idea of sort of tapping into who you were all those years ago and sort of finding questions through that. And then out. It's really awesome.
Yeah, and I think building on that, too, it's worth mentioning that we need to take the pressure off that we are like a unique snowflake, and yes, we're all unique snowflakes, but it's not about I have to come up with something that no one else has ever done in the history of the world. Yeah. The Creative Habit by Twyla Tharp is such a great book, and the main thing that stuck with me through that book is she says, you know, you're not here to reinvent the wheel. There's different types of dance because it's so known that, like, you say tap dancing, and we know what that means. You don't have to invent a new sort of dance. You don't have to go out and invent the kerfuffle dance. She didn't use kerfuffle. That's my word. You don't have to go and invent that, but, like, you could make a new tap dance, and that's still unique. That's still because it's infused with who you are. So I think we just have to take the pressure off and own the fact that, like, oh, the fact that I'm a Jewish girl from Long Island who has this musical theater. I'm a musical theater nerd who plays a pink ukulele, who says the word amazeballs, and lives in Brooklyn with my daughter who I adopted. Like that's who I am, and so it doesn't have to be anything that's not those things, or it needs to be more than those things.
Yeah, I think that's excellent advice too, is that don't get overwhelmed by doing something completely brand new. It's just figure out who you are. That's what's important. It's not about what it is that you do, because it's going to be unique because it's you.
Absolutely.
So just like if somebody else is doing it, it's okay. You'll do it your way.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Nice. What do you think the biggest question that someone should start asking themselves is in this kind of situation? If someone's trying to start that and they're going through, finding their sort of childhood thing and moving forward, how do you think they can apply that to their business or their careers or into a new field even?
Oh, you guys are actually asking such good questions. I think it really starts with allowing yourself to dream. And actually dream and play and exploration are like the three big themes in my creative life class that I'm teaching next month. And I think dreaming is where it starts, because I think, again, just like playing, it's not a muscle that we flex when we're grown-ups. We are stuck in like such realistic land of like, how am I paying my bills, and where am I going to eat next, and
being responsible.
exactly, paying down my credit card debt or not acquiring it in the first place. Like, we're so just set on whatever it is that is stressing us out or that we need to concentrate on, that like we don't give ourselves that space to just dream. And so I think that, and I am now proving my hippy dippiness. However long later, 7 years after I started being a life coach, being like, I can't do that, it's too hippy dippy. That I'm literally starting my creative life class with a visualization exercise of like, when you picture yourself just having the perfect day, or when you picture yourself just like being in that environment that inspires you and allows you to dream. I know for me, whenever I see like a sky full of stars, which I don't very often since I live in Brooklyn, like that to me is just like, that allows me to dream. So when I think of like being in that environment, what comes from that? When I think of my troubles kind of floating away and getting the things that I want for myself, I think it boils down to really lifestyle questions. What do you see your lifestyle being? What's important to you? And for some people, it's absolutely working for themselves and owning that piece. And other people, maybe not so much. Maybe they're just happy like running their blogs or writing a newsletter and going to their jobs, but they want that outlet. That's what's important to them. So it's like allowing yourself to tap back into dreaming, daydreaming, and what do you dream of for yourself? And then once there's clarity around that, you could find the how around that. You have to lead yourself to find the what first.
I like that. It's a lot less sort of daunting than like quit your job and start over again with something.
Oh my God.
It's like you can actually figure this out in your current life and sort of start building towards something else. It's not a whole shift of lifestyle and career stuff.
No, never. I mean, unless you're able to do it. Amen and hallelujah. I think it's why the vast majority of the people that I work with don't come to me much younger than 28. And like, I think if you're at that point in your life where you could quit your job and go travel in Thailand for, a year or forever and never come, like, go freaking do it, man. Like, go do it. But part of the reason I call myself the When I Grow Up coach is because, like, when we become grown-ups, we have these grown-up things. But I think and I know it's easier said than done, we can't think about those grown-up things first. We have to put those grown-up things and limitations and restrictions and challenges aside in order for us to find the what. And then I always tell my clients, I've never, ever, ever, ever worked with someone where we found the what and we couldn't figure out the how. There's always a way to make it happen in the semblance of what you need. It's just, you know, you have to put it aside in order to get clear on the what and really own that.
Totally.
That's a great statistic too. Is that, you know, you've never solved the problem. I mean, I'm sorry, you've never not solved the problem.
And never, and I swear, yeah, it's not. I don't want to say it like me patting myself on the back. I think it's just a reflection of, you know, I don't know, I'm waiting to talk to someone and be like, okay, this is what it is. It's never going to work. By the end. My dream is dead. Like, it has yet to happen. Because I think, too, there's something, too, about owning your own dream and what you see for yourself, and then being able to see the tangible steps as to what you have to do to make it happen, and releasing the fact that it has to happen tomorrow or it should happen tomorrow. Like, you need to know it's going to take a while. Yeah. It took me 2 years and 7 months, and, you know, I'm still kind of growing things. But, yeah, if you release all that pressure, you'll get to a much happier place with all of it.
Totally.
What would you say is, among all the people that you work with, is sort of, are there any common challenges, or what would you say is sort of like the thing that comes up the most in terms of struggling, or why they, you know, are stuck in a job, or why they haven't actualized this, or why they need you?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that what comes up a lot is like the brainwashing I think we've all gotten as children. I know for me, and I rebelled against this obviously, but my dad would come home from work every night when I was little, and we'd say, how was work? And he would say, well, it's called work because it's not play, but I guess I have to go back tomorrow.
Oh.
Yeah, and so, you know, even though I have the most, right? It's like, oh, great. And obviously, I mean, I'm the antithesis of all of that. And, you know, my family was so supportive about me being a musical theater performer, even though they were, I think, just really scared for me and worried about me and, like, not happy about it internally, but externally, all really supportive. You know, I think that there's this block of, like, not only is it not feasible, like, people don't make a living as an artist or a coach or the things that they have a sense that they want to do, but I can't do it. It's too late for me. I'm a lost cause. I've flittered around between too many things. It's like, you know, that tape that we all play in our head, I call it the vampire voices because it sucks all the good stuff right out of us. And so it's getting past that, and I think and I hope that the work I end up doing with my clients is that because I believe they could do it, because I've been doing this work as long as I have, because I've done it myself and I've seen it happen hundreds of times by now, that when the question becomes not can this work, but how can this work, then something shifts, and they have that support and accountability to take those very tiny baby steps. Then it's like, oh, this could work. Oh, this could work. Oh, I could actually get paid for this. Oh, someone's going to give me money for this. And it's just, it's so, it's that, like, it's a mental shift more than anything. But usually I could say this, that the people that come to me are on the other side of that line, because if part of them didn't believe that it could happen, they wouldn't be investing their time and their money and working with me. You know, so there's part of them that believes there's something out there for me that I could do that might be scary and risky, that I've been talking myself out of for a long time. So I get them when they're in that point, and I could do my own brainwashing with them.
Reverse brainwashing.
Totally. Yeah. Totally.
Very cool. I think we're just about out of time. Becca, do you have anything else that you'd like to ask?
I don't know. I think we've hit on pretty much everything. This has been super helpful and definitely very enlightening. It's really good to know there are people out there who are, you know, as supportive of everybody's dreams that might be a little bit too crazy, but are actually totally doable. So
That's me. That's me, Crazy Dream Supporter. That should be my new title. That should totally be my new title. I love it. This was so fun. Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you so much.
So delightful.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you so much for joining us. Is there anything else that you'd like to add, or any closing words for the folks who are watching?
Yeah, just come visit me on my website. I'm at whenIgrowupcoach.com, and you'll find links there to Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all those places. And I mentioned my Creative Live class a few times because I want people to come because it's free to watch live. And it's going to be so amazing. It's 3 days of content, and it's going to be like for real on creating your dream career. So if you go to whenIgrowupcoach.com, you'll see information about it on my homepage. And hopefully you'll RSVP. And if you RSVP for that, you get my free rhyming illustrated career change workbook that I used to sell for $40 a pop on my site for years that I just decided to give as the freebie for this class. So, like, go get yourself some free stuff over there and
That's the best kind of deal. It's the free.
Yay! I know. I love Creative Live is amazing. Their business model is unbelievably generous, but also awesome. And yeah, great. So yeah, so big ups to Creative Live. It's a really, for us Renaissance souls, it's like so great to have access to so much content that we could watch for free and just kind of learn things in 2 or 3 days that interest us. Like, it's such a great platform.
Nice. All right,
Yay.
Thank you so much.
So, you heard her, folks. Go to whenIgrowupcoach.com and get some free awesome stuff. And thank you, Michelle, for joining us. And if anybody would like to watch this later, it's available all the time on our YouTube channel. You can also see our other episodes, and we'll be back next Wednesday at 4. So see you then.
Thanks.
Bye. Thanks so much.